LNG right off the bats. We see a little bit of difference coming in here as LNG scoop up the Ziggs and the Trundle. Meanwhile, TS very comfortable indeed with Knight on the Syndra. Although in game 3, it really wasn't that super effective. I suppose they just enjoyed the way it held its own. The game wasn't lost off of Knight's efforts. Now, TES, let's see if they've managed to identify what they need to do in order to overcome LNG. So, from previous experience, from watching the first 3 games, I think it's obvious that TES, that's right, they're exactly what they need. They need engage. They need the ability to force the issue. They need to be able to ensure that LNG cannot just sit in between objectives, give up 3 dragons, and scale up to the late game. So I like the initiative they're taking. They have the Volley Berry, which will facilitate level 6 dives. They have the Leona, which will facilitate the long range engages. Admittedly, it's going to be a bit hard going into the zone control coming in from the Ziggs and the Trundle, as LNG look to be going towards a pick and split push kind of direction with tons of wave clear from the Ziggs, of course the disengage from the Trundle, and the main split pushing threat being the Camille, which can actually be taken advantage of very nicely by TES, who are looking to ban out junglers now, looking to target Tarzan's champion pool. The Xin Zhao is already gone, the Olaf is gone as well, and it looks like again LNG kind of not wanting to allow 369 to be on that Jax, although I don't believe that really is his pick, which kind of signals to me that Ale is going to want to go for the Gwen here, because generally that is the counter pick to the Gwen that we tend to see. Will TES look to ban that out, or will they look to pinch the jungler champion pool further? Not that there are that many junglers to go right now, as Nocturne is indeed taken away. Interesting enough, I'm not sure if that's something LNG would have gone for, as it looks like Diana will be their pick. Lots of AP damage on the side of LNG, still not showing their final mid lane pick. And TES, I would like to see, I think, a Jace over here. So, playing with the Draven, I like it. The snowball potential is there. And really, does team composition matter? Very much, when your whole plan really against LNG should be just to have enough engage so that you can run in at them, snowball a lead, and then just close out the game before 35 minutes when everything starts to come online for them. Because look at the scaling coming in from the Diana, from the Camille, from the Ziggs. And it looks like LTS are still going to opt to try and play towards LNG's pace some more with the Gangplank pick. This is potentially the last game of the playoffs for TES, so I respect what they're going for. I respect the confidence they're coming in with, and the Lucian pick looking to be coming in here. I would much prefer to see the Draven. Honestly, I think you could kind of get a lot done with the Draven, but eventually, alas and finally, we are going to see the Lucian, unless this is going to be a Syndra AD carry and a Lucian in the mid lane. Meanwhile, LNG, considering now mid laners, Icon generally not really super effective on the carry picks. LeBlanc has been banned, so he can potentially pick some Enchanter support picks. However, I really like this look of Diana and Yasuo, and they will indeed go for. So LNG have just as much of a dive composition as TES have. In fact, they've got quite an insane wombo combo with the Moonfall into the Yasuo ultimate as well as the Mega Inferno Ball. Meanwhile, on the other side, it looks like Jackie Love will yet again be on the AP champion. And although it wasn't particularly comfortable, it was a Ziggs and Syndra, I think. Honestly, I don't particularly remember the exact details of of Jackie Love's pick from the previous game. I can tell you though that I very much like what TES are coming. I like the approach that TES have. However, with the picks that they have, they really can only play through mid lane, because bot lane, I don't think you're going to get very much done. There is decent setup with the Zenith Blade as well as the Scatter the Weak to follow up. Yeah, it was a Syndra Trundle bot lane coming out from TES last game, and I forget who was in the mid lane. But again, I'm not very sure how much I like that. Let me take a second to gather my thoughts here. So LNG, they have very nice wombo combo. They have the ability to play through have more of a focus and play through towards the top side. Meanwhile, TES, on the other hand, have a lot of dive potential, but really, in my opinion, should be playing towards the middle and maybe towards the bottom side, because Gangplank doesn't really provide you a lot in terms of setup, especially in the early levels when you don't have those level 3 onto the Gangplank barrel. Then the cooldown, just the speed at which it procs and the cooldown for that spell is just so punishing. Anyways, we're going to see both junglers starting up towards the top side here. I think they both identified the fact that neither of them really want to make too much of a gank towards top side. Actually, no. More like Karsa knows that 369 can't really set up for him, so he's going to be moving towards the bottom side. Meanwhile, Tarzan knows that he just needs to track Karsa, because right now he is the one on the back foot. The 2v2 mid jungle 2v2 is strongly in favor of Knight, because Knight's going to have priority. Knight's going to have the ability to harass, and look at this damage coming out. His icon even has the fleet footwork, but look how chunked out he is. And Knight will not go for the flash because he does not have the ignite available. But already look, this lane going incredibly in favor of the Lucian level right off the bat from level 1. However, with a little bit of a leash, Tarzan will have a little bit of an advantage in terms of the clear speed. But Karsa isn't really a clearing jungler. He is here to try and get as much pressure out as possible, as Tarzan now has completed his 3 camps. Doesn't look like he's going to be opening himself up for a gank, as already a triple barrel coming through. Priority in all the waves is going in favor of TES, as Jacula stepping forward aggressively yet again. This could signal that Karsa might look to double scuttle. First scuttle crab is spawning in about 40 seconds time, and we already have Karsa looking for the invade. You just want to try and set Tarzan as far behind as possible. Not sure if he's spotted out yet. They have a bunch of pings going down. So now both junglers crossing paths, noticing each other, but Iwandi is up, moving up first. Light and Iwandi, I like what they're doing here. They're just sacking their own bot lane because they know they cannot allow their jungler to be bullied like this, because Tarzan, without any control of his waves, is going to be in deep trouble. But Icon is the one who's going to be attacked as he flashes away from Karsa, but the Zenithate tags him up, and Knight eventually kills him out. But Tarzan and Iwandi cannot do anything to the entourage of TES as a beautiful dive comes through. Icon will have teleport available. This is a 6 teleport kind of game. But I like what TES is doing over here. Just play through mid lane. You have the ganking jungler. You have the initiative with the priority in all the lanes. You need to get something done. So already TES on a magnificent, really magnificent approach, in my opinion, coming through into game 4. Karsa now, having taken the first scuttle crab, looks like he will definitely be able to take the second one. Will he walk right through here? He's going to be a little bit behind in terms of farm, although he did manage to pick himself up a assist. Tarzan is still being able to farm very, very easily. Iwandi is stepping up now, so this could be a 2v3 situation for TES, as they are now backing off, and having spotted him, I think Tarzan is going to be able to pick up this crab, which means 369 does need to play a little bit more carefully here. And Iwandi just unleashing himself onto the map has actually created a bit of an advantage in the map state for LNG. Admittedly, he's going to be a bit slow to hit his level 6, but that's the beauty of the Trundle, is that especially against team compositions that lack a real big tank, you don't really need the Trundle ultimate, and even if you do, you don't need it until the later game, as Karsa now flashing in onto Iwandi. Everyone's flashing in, Zor flashing in as well, and somehow Icon barely being killed off as the teleport is coming in. That is going to be Light. He's coming in with very little mana, however, as Zor is being beaten down. The level 1 Trundle is so incredibly strong. The early game Trundle, I'm sorry, as the Light comes in to not even assure himself an assist, but maybe they can siege down this tower as Iwandi stepping forward. Just the innate damage of the Trundle is just too much for them to take, but the resistances of the tower is still pretty high. They will still get themselves one plating over here, and Knight is not going to have a hard time at all just farming all these creeps. So overall, even though it is a 1-for-1 in favor of LNG, actually 2-for-1, I'm sorry, in favor of LNG, the fact remains that a lot of the CS was still picked up by Knight. If you look at the CS differential between him and Icon garnering himself a lot of attention here, because of course in wombo combo situations, one of the best ways of countering it in the laning phase is just to disable and to try and disable either one of the components of the wombo combo. So in this case, you're hammering down hard on the Yasuo, just 2 quick flashes being thrown down. However, it just so happened that Iwandi and Tarzan were in position to try and capitalize back on top, and this is the power of the Trundle. Looks like Iwandi, in spite of roaming first and being out of lane for so long, still able to pick up a decent amount of CS. The level 3 to the level 2 of Zor, and now Iwandi with yet another roam up. He only has a pillar. However, 369 does have his flash available, and Iwandi is just legitimately not staying in lane. Dragon is being started up now by Karsa. He is going to be able to pick that up without any problem whatsoever, and as a result, the bot lane is unfarmable for LNG, because of course they are focusing quite heavily towards the side of the map that Iwandi is in, because of they're just leveraging the early game power of the Trundle. Looks like they're going to start an attempted dive over here. There are no teleports available for the members of TS to come and save 369, but looks like he's just trying to all in onto Ali. Flash is forced out, but I want it forced to run through the tower, as is Tarzan. They're taking so much damage from the tower. Nice flash coming through. The Hextech ultimatum does tag him out, however, as the last shot of Parley manages to take out Ali. A very ugly dive. Fantastic play coming in from 369, but Knight is coming in as well. Does have the culling available, does have flash available as well, but it looks like he's running out of real runaway, and he will not be able to capitalize on this. Meanwhile, LNG are still losing a lot in the bot side of the map, so quite a bit of a catastrophic play going in favor of TES, as their rotations, their individual plays are just too fantastic. Now Iwandi and Tarzan trying another attempt onto 369. He's just used his barrel, he's just used his party. He does not have flash available. They don't have ultimates available, but neither does he. However, he is level 7 to the level 3 and the level 5. He's sitting right on top of his barrel as Tarzan goes straight for it. The auto attacks coming through. Iwandi, little to no mana. Eventually they will bludgeon him to death, and 369 overstaying his welcome pretty significantly. Will not have teleport to get back into lane, as the way the lanes have been organized has been completely thrown out of whack. And right now we're in such an odd situation as Jackie Love is nearly 1.2 thousand gold ahead of Light. Icon in the meantime is 800 gold behind Knight. Karsa is a little bit behind, I suppose, but 369 is also ahead. So TS are winning across the board, and try as LNG may. I'm not really quite sure what's with the sudden surge of proactivity from LNG. This is not the playstyle that we generally see from them. We generally see them just play really slow, have a nice long drawn out laning phase, going into a mid game strong with their power spikes and just playing with each other. But right now they just seem to be doing too much, and it's really just hurting them. Now, because Rift Herald is spawning, you've set all three of your lanes magnificently far behind. So TS are going to be able to pick up this Rift Herald without contestation, because if you contest it and you pick up Rift Herald but they get 3 or 4 of you, you pretty much just lost the game, as you're playing right into TS's win condition, which is to snowball, get to the 35-minute point with more items, with more kills, with more gold, with more experience, and just take over the game. Now, this is quite risky because Karsa is in the river, as is Knight. LNG have no idea where the jungle or mid laner of TES is, but they're still trying to set up for something. Generally, you want to make a play towards the bottom side, so this could be quite risky. Karsa is quite far away, however. Hextech ultimatum is nearly off of cooldown. That's exactly what they're waiting for. Ale is literally like 5 seconds off of cooldown. Tarzan has his ultimate as well. Looking at the items, there's no way 369 survives this. He doesn't even have flash, as in comes the hookshot as well as the Hextech ultimatum right on top of the moonfall. 369 can do little but walk around, does negligible negative damage, and right there, beautiful setup by both Ale and Tarzan, just waiting, biding their time. 369 feeling confident because of Karsa being up towards the top side. They thought, really believed that Tarzan was bot side trying to punish Jackie Love and Zor, and they didn't have the slightest inclination of an idea that he would be up there. Meanwhile, LNG, I think they're doing a pretty decent job towards the bot side. Somehow Iwandi is still ahead in levels when compared to Zor. In fact, he is quite significantly ahead in terms of gold as well. But with Tarzan now walking in here, Jackie Love does need to be careful, as Scatter the Weak does miss. Therefore, Jackie Love cannot look for a kill. Iwandi is still really low on mana. So, I mean, it's not, I guess there won't be a pillar. There's like one pillar left in him, which positioned appropriately could be quite effective. Tarzan doesn't have his ultimate available, however, so we probably won't be seeing too many ganks. And through it all, Tarzan has been farming up pretty well. Icon's been doing a pretty good job as well. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute and 15 seconds time. As we look at the items, obvious advantages in favor of TES across the board. Top lane's lead has been kind of equalized, as now Ale does have literally equal amounts of gold compared to 369, but the first tower of the game is set to fall down in this bottom side, as Zor is level 4 still 10 minutes into the game. Meanwhile, Iwandi is somehow level 5, just getting in 2 places first, sharing more experience, I suppose, but Zor really needs to try and get to level 6. It's impossible for him to get there before this next dragon, and already I've gotta say, at 11 minutes in, you kind of need your Leona ultimate, as Ale jumping in right now onto 369, trying to trade as much damage on as possible, using the shield effectively in order to ensure that he wins out on that trade. But of course, 369 does have a lot of sustain with his corrupting potions, as Iwandi yet another roam up towards the top side. He is spotted out, however, on this ward, which I suppose means that he will get some experience for himself. And look, he's somehow level 6 to the level 4 of Zor, despite being so proactive. How is this possible? Iwandi is absolutely unleashing himself upon 369 and TS right now. And there's just, for some reason, Zor just cannot keep pace. Admittedly, Jekyllov is getting a lot of experience, a lot of solo experience and gold for himself, but I don't know if Jekyllov is enough in this game because, of course, the dive potential is just so much with the Hextech Ultimatum, with the Moonfall, with the Last Breath coming in, and it looks like there could be another potential dive coming in, but 369, very good ward placement, however, it might not be enough as Tarzan does have his ultimate available, does have the dash, does have the ultimate as Moonfall comes through, flash through the pillar, so 369 will survive this, but meanwhile, on the opposite side of the map, admittedly, Karsa is stacking up the dragons, but yet again, Zor is still only level 5. He is now running from base. The entire top side is completely taken over, so another win condition from LNG is being unleashed. First, 2 win conditions are simultaneously being won across the map as Karsa is going to drop this Rift Herald down into the mid lane, so at least TS will be able to siege down this tower. We haven't seen a single dive facilitated with the Stormbringer just yet, as Iwandi somehow in position earlier than Zor yet again. Zor doesn't even have the ultimate available. It's literally even 11 minutes into the game. This is so key because they need to start forcing things, but you cannot force things as easily when you don't have the incredibly long range engage which the Solar Flare affords you. Now, they're doing a good job getting Vision out. They're rotating their strongest member up towards the top side to ensure that he gets as many playthings as possible. There's literally nothing for them to get towards the bottom side. But the thing is, Jekyllov is the most fed member on TES's side, followed by most likely Knight is the most fed member right now technically, but Jekyllov is the second most fed member. Both of them are relatively immobile, although Lucian does have his dash as well as Gale Force. They are both relatively immobile, and you have a wombo combo that does tons of damage that immobilizes your opponent for like 12 centuries. So really things are looking quite dire, and 369 honestly may get dove in here yet again. That's why we see Zor and Karsa in the vicinity to ensure that that does not happen to their darling top laner. But Ale, left alone against Jekyllov, does have quite a serious amount of kill potential against him, especially considering the fact that he does have his Divine Sunder available. In fact, there are some nice teleport wards that are available. If Icon looks to teleport up, he can just use his last breath onto the hookshot available as the damage is coming through for Jekyllov. In comes the hookshot as Ale tanks out a tower shot. The slow does come through from the W, but unable to connect with his final Q, he will not be able to continue this assault. So again, the 2 win conditions that are winning here is that 1, you have winning side lanes with Camille being ahead of 369's Gangplank right now. Secondary, you have an Initiator and a Pick. You have Initiate and Pick coming in from the Camille, as well as the fact that Tarzan has also got himself so incredibly far ahead. If you look at the gold, he's got 5,400 gold. He legitimately nearly has more gold. He's 900 more gold than 369, than a solo laner. So again, there we go. So we have 1 winning side laner, and we have a winning facilitator for a wombo combo with Icon's Yasuo, who right now is significantly behind of 369. So significantly behind of Knight, I'm sorry. But, I mean, yeah, he's actually so incredibly far behind. But I don't think that would matter too much considering the fact that Tarzan, it kind of balances out. So Tarzan isn't that far ahead because he kind of needs to make up for the loss of damage as a result of Icon being so far behind. Icon, though, might not want to take this 1v1 because 369 does at least have his Divine Sunder already, but looks like he's trying to set up for both for both Tarzan as well as Iwandi, who is still more proactive, is finally not ahead in terms of levels, at least not yet. It looks like 369 is about to be Omega Dove here. The Rocket Belt is available, as is the dash, as is the ultimate, as is the pillar, as 369 is just pinned against a wall, a filthy pillar, and 3 members of LNG taken out without mercy, eviscerated, torn asunder. And as a result, 369 will be traded for Rift Herald. And I mean, really, I don't know if this is worth it because LNG's components for making it to the late game to allow for the Ziggs to kind of get to his strong point are kind of being put ahead. Meanwhile, TES are getting the objectives that they need in order to try and get like further into the game. But now Jekyllov looks like he's going to be Dunzos over here as Iwandi with yet another roam. Zor has just not been able to keep up. The rest of TES have just not been able to keep up, and overall it's a win across the board for LNG as the gold lead was about 1,000 in favor of TES, but right now it is pretty much dead even with only a 300 gold advantage in favor of TES. We got 1 Rift Herald in return for Jackylove's death, 369's death, and a tower. In fact, I think 2 towers in the bot side. So that pretty much nullifies the advantage that you would have gotten from Rift Herald. Now, Dragon is spawning in a minute's time. It's going to be Wind Dragon. on the side of TES, a pretty good dragon, as it is on the side of LNG, who are very alt reliant with their wombo combo, as we see here. Iwandi, just a perfect roam and a fantastic setup coming in from Ale. Really, okay, Iwandi really didn't do too much, but he was there in case he needed to. But the roam from Ale was just fantastic. And now again, the Death Squad is coming in. Ultimates are available yet again. The Moonfall as well as the Last Breath. That's why we see Tarzan and Icon moving as a unit. Iwandi's pretty much been everywhere this game, so there's nothing new here. So LNG looks like they're trying to get another 2 towers across the map. Meanwhile, TES are looking to try and pressure bot side, set up for Dragon as an exit objective, as the amount of towers gets equalized across the board. Looks like Knight is going to at least get bot tower back for them, but they could potentially, okay, no dive is coming in for 369 up towards that top lane. It looks like LNG caught slipping ever so slightly, did kind of over rotate themselves into an unopportune situation. Icon has managed to finish his mythic item finally. However, he is very far behind of his counterpart. Look at that. Knight has literally got more than 2,000 gold in his favor, has his Essence Reaver completed now, has his Greaves completed. Looks like he, okay, I don't think he's actually building towards his Guardian Angel. I think that's just for the upcoming fight, which he knows is going to be of utmost importance. More likely than not, it's going to be around Dragon and in the next 4 minutes and 45 seconds, or Baron perhaps after Dragon. But the thing is, this is exactly the point in time that TES are in a kind of an iffy situation, because they cannot sit back and, okay, wait, actually their scaling isn't bad, but they just don't have, they have immobile carries that are squishy, Gangplank and Syndra, and LNG just have the ability to get on top of them. So really, you kind of lose the stronger LNG get. You do not win a straight up 5v5 unless LNG managed to screw it up magnificently, as Ale has found himself in the backline. Nice counter engage from Zor, flashing right on top of him with the Shield of Daybreak to ensure that he couldn't get that Hextech ultimatum off onto a key target. And honestly, every member of TES, with the exception of Karsa and Zor, are considered key targets at this point in time. Just the draft is kind of hard for TES to play, as yet another hookshot comes in. Knight has been tagged up by the Hextech ultimatum. The Scatter the Weak does miss, only hitting out onto Icon as Zor jumps in. It's very low on mana. In comes the Moonfall combined with the Last Breath, and the Mega Inferno Bomb isn't even necessary, as Karsa is now being beaten to death. It is a 1-for-1 Jackie Love traded for Icon. But look at this, the difference in terms of gold. Icon is really not worth too much right now. Meanwhile, Jackie Love is one of the second most fed member on his team. And yet again, already in a 5v5 situation, LNG are just winning. In a side lane split pushing situation, Ale will eviscerate, he will tear asunder anyone who comes to counter him. So TES are in an awful spot. Admittedly, they have dragons stacking in their advantage, but right now, things are surely, certainly, and most definitely not looking good. It's Ale just coming in absolutely clutch for his team. And that Scatter the Weak, I'm not sure if it was targeted at Ale or Icon. It might have been at Icon. And Tarzan getting 2-man ultimate onto Jackie Love and 369. Exactly the members we were talking about as being just so highly immobile that it's really hard to get away from the Diana. She has a flash, she has a dash, she has 2 dashes technically if she hits a Q, and she has the Rocket Bell available. There's so much mobility. And especially if Jackie Love uses his Scatter the Weak offensively, there is no hope. He needs to keep his Scatter the Weak defensively, so that when he does spot out Tarzan, he's able to try and push him away. However, Tarzan just uses his flash and his ultimate. There's really little that Jackie Love can do except for go for the Zonias, which is exactly what we see him doing. Second item Zonias is coming in, was just chain CC'd for so long that he wasn't even able to use it in the last fight. Speaking of which, we have 5 stopwatches out now. Yeah, we have 5 stopwatches out, as well as a Zonias for Tarzan. So really, everyone is going to have the potential to make some pretty big individual plays. Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes time. Don't think either team have accumulated enough damage as of right now to start threatening Baron just yet. But make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, there is tons of damage on either side of the rift. So we can potentially see some very quick, very explosive Baron sneaks without, depending on how out of position the other team manages to get. But right now, LNG are just setting themselves up for a 1-4, waiting for the ultimates to come off of cooldown, waiting for the opportunities to open up for them to try and make picks onto TES. Of course, the reason that it's so scary now is because LNG have such fantastic, they just need honestly 2 to 3 members to make things happen. Meanwhile, TES, really, you need a damage dealer for sure, which is either Knight or Jackie Love, and then you need the setup from Zoa, and then probably the follow-up from Karsa. Meanwhile, I think Tarzan and Icon by themselves can take a 2v3 situation. Knight is pressuring up towards the top side. Ale is a bit slacking in that regard, I suppose. And there's actually nothing for LNG to get in the bottom side of the map. 369 is going to need to rotate to try and get Ale, who's pushing the waves aggressively. I don't think he'll attempt for a dive here, but Knight does need to be careful. The rest of his team is there to defend him as Zuo is now pillared out into a terrible position as Tarzan jumps in. Damage coming in from Iwani. Nice stun coming out. Actually manages to deny Tarzan Jackie Love, and a beautiful series of plays coming through. Zuo taken so incredibly low as 369 is now here to fight off Ale. There's a 1v1 going on. Iwani is quite out of position, as is Light, as TS is going to be in position first. A nice flash in with the Scatter the Weak coming through, and they managed to pick themselves up yet another kill. Looks like this is going to be Baron. The engage is gone. The facilitator of the wombo combo is gone. The split push threat is gone. Knight just needs to be careful because the pillar can be used as setup for Icon's last breath, and it looks like TS are going to allow LNG to take the mid lane tier 3 tower in exchange for this Baron. A very worthwhile trade indeed, and so far TES showing that they still got a lot of fight. Ooh, the Mega Inferno Wall coming in. 369 nearly burning down to death as a result of the Liandry's. It looks like no magnificent Liandry's tick steal will come through for the members of LNG. At least they will deny this Dragon Soul and buy themselves more time to scale. I guess I just put too much emphasis onto TES, as LNG also do need to be able to execute perfectly. Honestly, the way that fight started out, I thought that LNG were in a fantastic position. They managed to catch Zuo out with a fantastic pillar coming out from Iwandi, blocking the route, sandwiching Zuo between the wall and the pillar. But I suppose just hero plays coming out from Zuo over there. He somehow managed to get a stun out onto Tarzan after Tarzan used his dash onto Jackie Love. So Tarzan was in the perfect position, and then the stun came through. Watch this right here. So really good pillar coming out from Iwandi, and Zuo unfortunately was in a quite bad position. But look at Tarzan. He jumps onto Zuo and then jumps again onto Jackie Love, but somehow he gets stunned up by the Shield of Daybreak, and he could not press his R. So Jackie Love just floated out of it, and then Ale comes in, but 369 is there to fight him off. And now that Ale has found himself in a terrible position, Light and Iwandi are zoned off by the oncoming trio of Karsa, Jackie Love, and Knight. And then a nice flash coming out from Jackie Love. He won't have that for the next fight. He's going to be incredibly vulnerable. But that flash managed to ensure that his team does get Baron. Now, the split push pressure is still there from Ale. In the top lane, we see him exactly where we want to see him. But LNG, how are you going to defend this? TS are trying to play through two waves. Light does not have blue buff, but does have a pretty decent stockpile of mana available. Ale is still continuing his push. TES and the rest, 369, sorry, and the rest of TES might need to dive these towers, might need to force an issue as the parlay comes in, dealing nice bits of damage onto Icon. But Ale hasn't even managed to scratch the tower yet. What is he doing? And it looks like TS, opting not to be too greedy, I suppose, for this, are going to take one tower and back off. I'm not quite sure what I feel about this. I mean, they did manage to get a tier 1 tower in exchange for half of the HP of a tier 2 tower. So I suppose now they're going to push top and mid. Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to take all the outer towers they can. I suppose it's a good idea. No, actually this is a really good idea, because if you take an inhibitor, you are just funneling free resources into your opponent's base, because you will never need to push that, and the wave will not naturally flow into your enemy's base, which is the safest place it can be for them. Especially considering the fact that Dragon is not going to be up for another 3 minutes. Baron buff is not going to be up for at least another 2 to 3 minutes. So right now, TES, I like their decision making here. Very much foresight as well. Jumps in onto Ale. Unfortunately, mistiming the solar flare, not able to get Ale. Ale didn't even have his Merc Treads. So maybe he's got some innate tenacity off of his runes, but right now it looks like TS are slightly out of position. LNG have much better grouped as the hook shot does land. 369 flashing towards his team. In comes Mega Inferno Bomb, taking it on to both 369 as well as Zor as the last breath comes through. Zor was tagged up by Jackie Love coming in with a very nice stun. This might be enough for disengage. Icon is just chopping up Zor. However, Knight is trying to get damage onto him with the culling, and Icon, very nice play, actually dashing through Knight. Meanwhile, in the back lines, Jackie Love is in the middle of everybody. Stormbringer finally comes through. However, he just manages to finish off Ale as Light and Tarzan now in the backline flashing forward. Does manage to take a bite out of Light as well. Tarzan knows he cannot take this fight because there's one beefy tanky bear. Icon is coming in, however, does have the Guardian Angel available, and somehow it seems that Knight has managed to sneak out of that fight. So I like what LNG saw. They saw the opportunity to jump in there, and now neither of those two, I guess, are feeling too confident going up against this big lightning-infused bear. However, Tarzan will get himself a Constellation blue buff, and maybe now they can look to wrap around. However, Iwandi is spawning in 5 seconds time, and this is exactly what they want. They weren't trying to pick him. There is no objective spawning for another minute and 38 seconds or 2 minutes time, but it looks like they are not liking their odds. There's no reason to pick him, I suppose, at this point in time. So, Icon playing that fight very nicely towards the tail end. As just unfortunate turn of events, as Ale, again, identifying the fact that they are out of position. The tactical sweep actually managing to slow out 369, who uses his flash to try and bring Ale away from his team. And unfortunately, 369 honestly survives for quite a while. And then Icon just has the time of his life with Zor, while Knight is trying to get a culling onto the rest of his team. The Icon is just completely untouched. Meanwhile, let's see what happens over here as Karsa and Jackie Love just come in, pincer off the members of LNG, and Ale with another hook shot unleashed upon. Unfortunately for him, he was tagged up by both the Unleashed Power as well as the Scatter the Weak, and Karsa, knowing that he needs to get onto light, just blowing his flash and actually kind of, in a way, winning the fight. So, nice little bit of 1-for-1 coming in here. I mean, blow for blow coming in here from both teams, as signs of life are ever so evident. 26 minutes into the game, we have 19 kills. Goal lead is still 5,000 in favor of TES. However, the map state feels relatively even. The game could go either way. And the fact that being 5,000 gold ahead, TES are having such a hard time kind of fighting LNG shows you that they are not really working so well as a team. Maybe the communications is a little bit off. Meanwhile, LNG are just flowing so nicely, like a very well-oiled machine, I suppose you could say, as LNG now getting mid-priority. TES will get priority of the bot lane, so that is exactly where they're going to be playing through. As Scatter Week comes through, Iwandi taking up the brunt of that damage. A lot of stopwatches were busted throughout that fight, but they are replaced by Zonias and Guardian Angels, which Knight will not have for this fight. Meanwhile, Icon will still have his Ale is back in base, looking for a teleport flank angle. They do see his teleport coming through. 369 is the one guarding the area, and he will be able to spot him out first. But Dragon is started up. Karsa is currently tanking. Right now, in this current situation, I think everything is pretty even for either team. But Tarzan has a big bullseye on him for the members of TS. LNG, it looks like they are taking quite a bit of damage from this Wind Dragon. Of course, it does deal the most physical damage. Ale looks like he's looking for another flank. Jackie Love is going to be absolutely flanked right here. Ale has no idea what good position he is in. As beautiful steal comes in from Tarzan. 369. Unfortunately, there's a big moonfall comes through, as well as the last breath. And I think this might be it for TES. Knight trying his best to survive. It's an absolute cluster of a fight. Icon dishing that is just going through the entirety of the fight. Guardian Angel finally gets blown, but 369 is going to be finished off by both Iwandi as well as Ale. And Icon, Tarzan, they win the fight. Ale comes in clutch as well. Beautiful flank, managing to find the way into the backline. Jackie Love was just incinerated, and now Baron is going to go in favor of LNG. We're not going to see any direct consequence of losing that fight, I suppose, for TES, but everything just went their way. Tarzan didn't even have to use flash. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for how he managed to get into such a stellar position, as I think that was a good 3-man moonfall last breath that we saw unleash upon TES, and somehow, someway, LNG have closed the gold gap. It is now only 3,000, maybe 2,000 in favor. Look at this Ale. He actually was even spotted out. Though maybe they didn't exactly. Actually, no, they spotted out twice. Jackie Love saw him that time too. Anyways, most importantly, let's focus on Tarzan here. He gets in with the dash. Beautiful. And he jumps in onto... Oh my god. It was beautiful. It was truly beautiful. And pretty much at this point, everyone's just pressing their R buttons in the middle of the fight. Icon and Ale, good target selection. Go straight for Knight. Jackie Love just incinerated. Actually, no, Jackie Love is actually in the back of the fight. Didn't get tagged up by the combo. Ultimately, his last Q did manage to trigger the Guardian Angel from Icon, which could be pretty key in the next fight, because I'm pretty sure Knight will have his up by then. Knight will have his up by then. Icon's is going to be very significantly far behind, as we see, look, the Guardian Angel timers. Look at the difference between the two. Whew, okay, just a quick break over here. So now LNG, let's see what they can do. Again, they have the siege potential, they have the wave clear, and they have the split push threat. Ale is just going to be even more of a hindrance, especially as the game continues to scale towards the later parts, as he's going to build towards his Hydra right now, his Ravenous Hydra, and afterwards his Guardian Angel, and he's going to be even more of a threat to these squishies. He's pretty much going to two-shot anybody who isn't Karsa or Zor, or maybe 369 with his Sterak's embrace, his Sterak's. Meanwhile, LNG picked themselves up the outer towers, kind of to be expected, as Jaculov just being pounced on. Unfortunately, Hexazonius in the front line is immediately assassinated as soon as he pops out. Ali jumping in onto Karsa, does manage to get the Hex by Ultimatum onto Knight, but in comes the rest of LNG as the Solar Flare comes down. Last Breath comes through as well, but Karsa was the only one to tank that out. The Guardian Angel is propped, but Knight is in between the entirety of LNG as a Hurricane blows TES up, and it looks like LNG are going to close out this game, are going to take TES's chances, their hopes, their prayers of being able to make it back to Worlds for 2021, I'm sorry, out of the picture. And LNG with their hands around TES's throat, can they squeeze? Can they finish it off as Icon tagging up 369 with the Hurricane? They're going to finish him off. He's in the middle of 4 people. Zor now left to dry. Iwandi low on mana, realizing Zor is not actually a threat. The rest of LNG avoid him, ignore him, go for the jugular, and LNG destroy TES towards the tail end of that game, just playing so phenomenally, taking advantage of every opportunity that TES threw their way. And it was a beautiful game coming out of LNG as their stellar ascent to the LPL playoff semi-final. Actually, is it quarterfinals? I mean, the next round at least, because they've gone through Suning, they've gone through TES. Next up is RNG, and honestly, based on the way LNG is playing, they have a really good chance against the current Spring Split champions. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time for our next video. See ya!